more, sissy. Fly. Freedom.
It's certainty, stupid, on power, confidence, and why we mistake aggression for strength. The title of this video is deliberate nod to the Clinton-era political maxim coined by Karl Rove. It's the economy, stupid. That phrase, it cut through the noise by naming the real driver behind voter behavior and what got Clinton elected. I want to do something similar here in this video because when people talk about power, especially in the context of business, politics, and leadership, they consistently misidentify what they are actually responding to. What people usually mistake is not power itself, but the behaviors and traits that they associate with what appears to be power. People come up with a myriad of behaviors and traits to explain what looks like power. But the real drivers behind the appearance of power is certainty. Now let me explain where this idea came from. I began thinking seriously about this idea of power being more about certainty after I watched a masterclass. A masterclass is subscription-based video that is taught by well-known people. And those people, who are, I guess, experts in a particular topic or area, they do a number of different, classes to teach you about, the area in which they are an expert. And so this particular masterclass that I watched was an ad that showed up probably on Instagram. It was on, Jeffrey Pfeffer, who was talking about power. I saw Jeffrey Pfeffer, his last name spelled P-F-E-F-F-E-R. I saw that masterclass, and then I read his book, The 7 Rules of Power. Now, Pfeffer is sharp, he's provocative, and more importantly, he's honest about the uncomfortable realities of organizational life. Many of his insights that I saw, I felt were correct. Some I felt were incomplete. And some I would put in the same category as the so-called laws of power popularized by Robert Greene. Those rules and laws, they are descriptive and useful, but they're very dangerous because they can be easily misunderstood. One common misunderstanding shows up in how people interpret research on dominance and leadership. Studies, for example, show that people often perceive aggressive behavior, deceptive tactics, or a refusal to apologize, for example, as signals of power. From this, many writers and influencers draw, I believe, the wrong conclusion that aggression, deception, or at times what can be labeled as shamelessness are what power is. And they are not. What people are really responding to is the certainty in what is exhibited by those behaviors. That is, in fact, the core meaning of confidence, right? If you're confident in something and you're certain about it, certainty does not mean certainty about the accuracy of every statement that you make. It's definitely not, the certainty about the outcome. No one can really predict an outcome. Certainty is about the certainty in yourself, your ability to adapt, to pivot, to recover, to learn, to persist. You can be wrong and still be certain. You can fail and still be certain about your bounce back. Now, let's go back to the signals that they talk about and that look like it's about power. Let's take, for example, the emotion of anger. Pfeffer says that research shows that anger often signals power. But what I'm saying is what's actually happening is that anger is signaling certainty, not necessarily about moral correctness, but, perhaps certainty about what that person feels should have happened. And so others who are watching may retroactively believe that perhaps that is what should have happened. In a similar fashion, Pfeffer says that, for example, refusing to apologize is a sign of power. He uses Donald Trump's refusal to apologize as an example of that type of power. He says that being apologetic dampens power. Again, refusing to apologize is a sign of certainty, right? It is the willingness to, as the folks say these days, stand on business, right? What people admire is not the lack of remorse itself, but the signal that I said what I said, and I know who I am, and I am willing to endure your judgment. Now, we are all inspired by people who are willing to take on the mob. Even when we disagree with those people, we admire the internal strength it takes to take on the mob. But let's be clear, anger and shamelessness are not the key ingredients in these cases, because you can be calm and still project certainty. You can apologize for making an error and still project certainty about yourself, about your values, and about the way forward. Apology does not reduce power unless it signals an internal collapse. Calm does not reduce power unless it signals uncertainty. This distinction matters deeply on a personal level. Many people want to effect change without becoming mean, aggressive, or cruel. And I believe that's a good instinct. And frankly, the world could use fewer mean assholes. Understanding certainty allows you to pursue influence without moral self-betrayal. What power actually is. To be precise, power is the extent and speed with which you can effectuate something you want to effectuate. If we imagine a supreme being that is all-powerful, that being would effectuate outcomes at the ease and speed of thought. Power, then, is not about posture or personality. It's about results and the reliability with which results can be produced. Certainty becomes relevant because it is what allows people to trust that you will continue moving forward to an outcome, despite resistance, error, or ridicule. Certainty versus delusion. This raises a critical question. How do we distinguish between people whose certainty is admired and those whose certainty is dismissed as delusional? The answer is simple and uncomfortable. It comes down to the willingness to do what it takes to prove that your certainty was well placed. That usually means success. And this is Pfeffer's seventh rule of power. Stripped of euphemism, the seventh rule says success excuses everything else. Whether we like it or not, this is empirically true. Outcomes retroactively legitimize behavior. This is also why people who hate to fail often succeed. They're willing to endure embarrassment, rejection, and sustain social pressure long enough for the world to recalibrate around them. Now, I explore the dynamic of hatred of failure in a video that I'll have at the end of this for you to watch. Standing long enough for the world to catch up. Success is not just about accomplishing a goal. It is also about your willingness to brave the storm long enough for people to accept that you are firmly rooted. Conformity is how others reassure themselves that you are reliable and sane. The more your behavior deviates from the script society has assigned you, the more you will have to endure attacks on the character you elect to play. Consider, for example, Z-Way's interview with Tom Hanks' son, Chat. I applaud Chat's willingness to be himself despite widespread ridicule. I don't know how seriously he takes his craft, but if he were to take it seriously and persist long enough to produce undeniable results, public perception would shift as they do for people like Kanye West. The certainty would no longer read as delusional, it would read as vision. Certainty is what allows you to endure that period without self-abandonment. And when certainty is eventually paired with results, people update their beliefs. What once looked reckless begins to look principled. What once looked arrogant begins to look visionary. That is power, not aggression, not deception, not shamelessness. It's certainty. Stupid.